Today I want to talk about something most people carry quietly, something that sits in our emotional blind spots and whispers lies into our spirit, something that has been used intentionally or unintentionally to keep some of the strongest people I know painfully small. It's called the shame trap, and if you've ever walked on eggshells, if you've ever shrunk your truth so someone else could remain comfortable, felt guilty for choosing your peace, then you already know what the shame trap feels like. This isn't just a concept. This is lived experience, survival. Let's begin with a truth most of us weren't taught. Toxic people don't need power. They just need you to believe you don't have any. Favorite tool for that, shame sounds like. Why are you so sensitive? You're overreacting. You made me do this? No one else would put up with you. These aren't statements. They're strategies, designed not to help you grow, but to keep you controlled. Here's the thing. When you start valuing yourself, you become very inconvenient for people who benefited from you having none. Shame is the emotional leash they tug on. Most of us don't even realize we're wearing it. Shame is a quiet emotion. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. It doesn't storm into your life with a loud announcement. It creeps in softly, settling into the places you don't talk about. It feeds on secrecy, on the moments you swallow your truth instead of speaking it, on the fears you hide because you don't want to seem dramatic, needy, too much. Silence becomes the perfect soil for shame to grow roots. Most of us learn early that certain emotions are convenient, that expressing hurt makes us difficult, that asking for clarity makes us demanding, that naming mistreatment makes us disloyal. So we keep things to ourselves, we rationalize, we minimize. Strong. But here's the paradox. The more we try to contain shame, the more it contains us. When you don't talk about what hurt you, believing you deserved it. When you don't allow yourself to feel, you start thinking your feelings are the problem. Silence twists reality, convinces you that the weight you're carrying is yours alone. And toxic people rely on that silence, because as long as you don't question their behavior out loud, have to confront it. But the moment you speak what you've been holding, everything shifts. Not because saying it fixes it instantly, saying it breaks the illusion that you're alone. Words are light. The second you bring shame out of the dark and into the open, it loses the power it once had. Begin to see the situation with clearer eyes. You begin to remember that your feelings are valid, your experiences are real, and your story deserves to be heard. Shame thrives in silence, not because you're weak, but because you were never meant to heal in isolation. You were meant to be witnessed, understood, and supported. The act of speaking, even quietly, even shakily, is the moment shame starts to starve. Even in a loving marriage, even just in fun, shame has no place. Shame is not playful. Shame is not teasing. Shame is not harmless. Shame, even when wrapped in laughter, still carries the same message. Something wrong with you. And that message cuts deeper when it comes from the person who holds your heart. Here's the truth most people don't talk about. Shame does not strengthen intimacy. It erodes it. It slowly chips away at trust, safety, and emotional closeness. The very things marriage is built on. Partners shame each other lightly. This is what actually happens beneath the surface. A shame turns vulnerability into danger. Your partner laughs at your insecurities, your fears, your quirks, or your mistakes. Your nervous system learns that opening up isn't safe, cannot survive where vulnerability feels risky. The shame creates emotional distance. You withdraw a little, you speak less, you hide more. This distance may be invisible at first, but it grows quietly until two people feel like strangers living in the same home. The shame teaches you to doubt yourself. When said jokingly, repeated shaming creates an internal echo. Maybe I really am too much. Maybe I really am a burden. Maybe I'm not good enough. Come beliefs without anyone noticing. The shame normalizes disrespect. Once it starts, it becomes easier to escalate. Harmless teasing turns into sarcasm, then jabs, then resentment disguised as humor. Respect is lost long before the marriage is. Shame is the opposite of love's purpose. Love lifts, love protects, love honors. Shame belittles. There is no version of a healthy marriage where belittling each other is considered affection. Healthy couples tease each other with care, not cruelty. Laugh with each other, not at each other. They play, but never at the cost of the other person's dignity. They create a space where both people feel safe to be imperfect and real. Shame, even jokingly, closes the door on that safety. Shame creates smallness. Shame doesn't just hurt. It shrinks you, takes the version of you that is bold, curious, loving, and capable, and slowly compresses it into someone who second guesses every step, convinces you that taking up space is dangerous, that having needs is burdensome, that expressing yourself risks rejection. So you begin to negotiate with your own voice. I shouldn't ask for that. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Before you know it, you've edited yourself down to a fraction of who you are. Shame teaches you to apologize for simply existing. You start saying, sorry, before you've even done anything wrong. You over-explain, overwork, give not because you want to, but because some part of you is trying to earn permission to be here. It becomes a constant internal calculation. Is this okay? Am I okay? That internal noise slowly drowns out your intuition, your desires, your sense of self. What makes this even more painful is that the world often rewards this smallness. People who benefit from your shrinking will call you easygoing, selfless, strong. But these aren't compliments. They're indicators of how much of yourself you've had to silence just to keep the peace. Smallness becomes the mask you wear to survive environments that never made room for the real you. But here's the truth: you were never meant to be small, built for depth, connection, impact. You were designed with a voice that matters and a presence that carries weight. Shame may try to compress you, cannot erase the parts of you that are meant to rise. When you begin to notice the moments you shrink, the pauses, the hesitations, self-blame, you're already stepping out of the pattern. Growing out of shame isn't about becoming louder or more forceful. It's about reclaiming your full emotional height. It's remembering that your needs aren't a nuisance, your feelings aren't a flaw, and your truth isn't negotiable. By little, you expand back into the person you always were, unhidden, unedited, and unapologetically whole. Naming the shame breaks the spell. Shame is powerful until you give it a name. The moment you identify it, something shifts, not outside you, but inside you. Shame works like a spell. It clouds your judgment, distorts your memory, and makes you doubt your own reality. It tells you stories about who you are that aren't true, and it counts on you never questioning them. Stay confused. As long as everything feels blurry and heavy, shame wins. But when you stop and say, this feeling right here, this tightening, this guilt to hide, that's shame. The fog begins to clear. Naming it doesn't magically erase the pain, but it gives you back your power. Shift from being the shame to observing it. It becomes something happening inside you, not something that defines you. The act of naming is an act of truth, telling, you stepping into awareness, refusing to accept emotional chaos as your identity. When you name shame, you interrupt the narrative that says, I am the problem, and replace it with, I'm experiencing something that can be understood, worked through. Suddenly the weight feels different, lighter, more manageable, more honest. Toxic people rely on you staying silent and confused, depend on you blaming yourself, questioning your reactions, and dismissing your instincts. The moment you name what's happening, you disrupt their entire pattern. Stop being manipulable. You stop internalizing what was never yours. You see the dynamic for what it is, not what you were told it is. Shame is not weakness. It's clarity. It's courage. It's the beginning of reclaiming your story. Because once you've spoken it, you can't unsee it, challenge it, soothe it, question it, and eventually free yourself from it. And that is how the spell breaks. Not with force, but with truth. Are not punishments. They are declarations of worth. Boundaries are so often misunderstood, especially by the people who needed you unguarded. They'll call them selfish, dramatic, unnecessary, or too much, because your boundaries disrupt a system where your comfort was always the last priority. But boundaries are not walls you build to keep people out. They are doors you design to protect what matters inside. They are not weapons. They are not punishments. Powerful statements of self-worth. A boundary says, I know what's healthy for me. It says, I'm allowed to take up space. It says, my peace, my time, and my emotional safety are valuable. When you set a boundary, you're not trying to control anyone else. You're taking responsibility for yourself, choosing clarity over chaos, honesty over resentment, alignment over people-pleasing. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about creating the conditions where connection can actually be real, respectful, and sustainable. Boundaries uncomfortable is that they reveal the truth about relationships. Healthy people will adjust even if it takes time. Toxic people will resist. Boundary exposes the behavior they don't want to change. And that resistance can make you doubt yourself. The discomfort you feel isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're breaking an old pattern of abandoning yourself. Every boundary you set is a vote for the person you're becoming. A person who doesn't over-explain why they need rest. A person who doesn't accept emotional crumbs. A person who no longer negotiates with disrespect. A person who knows that peace is a priority, not a privilege. Boundaries are decorations of worth because they say, I matter. I deserve safety. I am not here to be depleted. I am allowed to protect the parts of me that are still healing. When you live from that truth, fully, steadily, unapologetically, the relationships that are meant for you rise to meet you, and the ones that aren't slowly fall away. Boundaries don't break your life, they rebuild it into something honest, grounded, and deeply honoring of who you truly are. It's not about becoming fearless, it's about becoming brave. Healing is so often romanticized as this moment where everything suddenly makes sense, pain disappears, where you finally feel light again. But real healing is far less glamorous and far more human. It doesn't ask you to be fearless, it asks you to be brave. And those two things are not the same. Fearlessness suggests the fear goes away. Bravery says, I feel the fear, and I'm still moving. Is waking up with the weight of old wounds and choosing. Even on the days you don't feel strong, not to let those wounds define your future. It's sitting with emotions you used to run from. It's telling the truth to yourself first, even when that truth is uncomfortable. It's admitting what hurt you, what broke you, recognizing where you abandoned parts of yourself just to be loved, accepted, or tolerated. Bravery shows up in the smallest, quietest moments, saying no when your body is screaming to appease, in asking for clarity instead of assuming you're wrong, in walking away from relationships that need you broken to function, allowing yourself to rest without guilt, in choosing honesty over survival mode. Silence doesn't require you to become a different person. It asks you to return to the person you were before the world taught you to shrink. Return requires courage, because stepping into healing means facing the memories you buried, the patterns you normalized, parts of you didn't believe deserved softness. Bravery is taking responsibility for your life without taking blame for the harm done to you. It's learning to love yourself in the very places you once felt unlovable. It's giving yourself permission to take up emotional space that was once denied, walking toward a future you've never seen before, simply because you've decided you're worthy of more. You don't heal by eliminating fear, by refusing to let fear decide how your story goes. And every brave step, shaky, messy, imperfect, is a step toward the life you were always meant to live, conscious, self-respecting, and free. Healing asks something deeply human of you. Not approval, not validation, not a green light from anyone outside of you. Asks for courage. The kind of courage that doesn't always roar. Sometimes it trembles. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it simply says, I deserve better than this, even when you're afraid of what comes next. Permission is external. It depends on someone else's comfort, someone else's expectations, someone else's willingness to understand your pain. And if you've ever dealt with toxic people, you already know waiting for their permission means waiting forever. Invested in a version of you that stays quiet, agreeable, predictable, easy to influence, won't hand you the freedom you need. Not because you don't deserve it, but because your healing disrupts their narrative. Courage. Though courage is internal, it lives in the moments you decide to stop abandoning yourself. It shows up when you finally speak words you've swallowed for years, rises when you choose peace over people pleasing, truth over silence, and self-respect over approval. Claiming your voice is one of the bravest acts of self-love you will ever commit to. Because your voice is not just sound, it is identity, it is boundaries, it is clarity, the place where self-worth becomes visible. Every time you speak up, you shift the balance of your life back into your own hands. You remind yourself, my story matters. My truth matters. You stop negotiating your dignity with people who never intended to protect it. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's the beginning of walking away from roles that diminished you. It's the moment you stop living on emotional scraps, quiet rebellion against every message that taught you to stay small. Healing doesn't wait for permission. Healing begins the moment you say, I am worthy of a life that does not hurt me. And that declaration, that reclaiming of your voice, is courage in its purest form. Shame is not truth, it's distortion. When someone projects shame onto you, they aren't telling you who you are, telling you who they need you to believe you are so their behavior can go unquestioned. Shame bends reality. It makes you doubt your instincts, your goodness. Rejecting that shame is rejecting a lie. Because someone else's discomfort is not your responsibility. People who rely on your silence or self-blame will shame you the moment you create boundaries, say no, speak honestly, or hold them accountable. Shame is simply a reaction to losing control, not a reflection of your worth. Because shame is designed to shrink you. When you accept shame from someone else, unconsciously step into smallness. You apologize more. You hide more. You second-guess yourself more. Begin living as a reduced version of yourself just to avoid conflict. Rejecting shame is refusing to play small for someone else's benefit. Because shame blocks connection and authenticity. Healthy people don't use shame to communicate. They use honesty, empathy, and responsibility. If someone shames you, choosing power over connection, and you are not obligated to receive that. Because the shame someone tries to give you usually belongs to them. Often, project what they can't face in themselves. They hand you their insecurity, their unresolved wounds, their fear of accountability. When you refuse to accept shame back, without absorbing the poison, because your self-worth is not up for negotiation. Accepting shame means allowing someone else to define your value. I know who I am. Your interpretation is not my identity. Because healing requires truth, not humiliation. Shame shuts you down. Healing connects. Shame punishes. Growth empowers. When you refuse shame, you choose growth over guilt, clarity over confusion, self-respect over emotional manipulation. If someone needs you to stay small for them to feel big, that is not your person. That is your prison. Right now, you get to walk out. You get to choose the life where your voice matters, where your truth is welcome, where your worth is not up for negotiation. Because you were never meant to live inside the shame trap. You were meant to rise above it.